created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
Yeah, you have to be using all your skills all the time because your low notes must be high in a high impostation, but your high notes must have this chest color. So you have to be using everything all the time, and it's not easy. Forgive me. I think that probably I got COVID. So I'm suspecting that I really got COVID. So I'm breathing so much more of what I used to breathe, and I hope I don't die tomorrow.
I just noticed that it's been around a minute that you heard me, but that it didn't go through the recording. So you heard me, people saw me speaking, speaking, and speaking. But well, fortunately, they could hear you. But what I was about to share is that we mentioned, not in this series, but in the previous series, that singers have to be very diligent in the sense that they have to rehearse a good number of hours per month, per week, sorry. And you also shared with us that even per day, in your case, because the voice is very jealous. If you don't pay attention to the voice for a week, for 2 weeks, then the high notes, when you want to go back, the high notes are not there, the low notes are not there, the coloratura is not there, or something is missing. The voice wants to be rehearsed all the time. And when it is rehearsed properly, it also pays back very well. So this has been your case that you have that this disease has put you into rest into mandatory pause. Maybe that's the reason why your lungs are still not back as strong as they were in the past. I'm not sure if I would dare to say COVID, but I would say that because it's been almost 3 weeks or a month, right? That you needed to start making this process.
Yes, because well, it all started when my teeth were removed,
Yeah, the first
and
ones.
I was resting. Yes, I was fine. Uh, then it passed a week, and the other two were removed, and I was fine. And suddenly, I sang in a program. I said, "Oh, I have to," and I sang with you. I remember it was your program, but I sang. And
You
the
sang
next
Cor
day,
Ingrato, if I remember well.
yes, I sang Cor Ingrato, and then it was like, ah, yes, I'll study a little bit, and I go for a walk, and I was surprised by the rain, and I died the next day.
And that's why
But
we're sending Orfeo to get you from hell,
yes,
which is
please.
basically the next. But before we jump into the next piece, I also wanted to share that there is a reason why also many people don't like this period or the early stages of opera, mainly because it is not Bellini, Puccini, Donizetti, Rossini, our most known composers, but it is because these operas tend to be very static. There is very little movement on the stage. There is very few things happening on stage. It's not like Cavalleria Rusticana where Turido is killed in a duel or or those horrible things that happen in the Verismo. No, it is a much more quieter ambient. And maybe we should also talk also a little about the orchestration. The
It has
orchestration
to be a lot.
the orchestration is also so very delicate. Besides being the style of every composer, the the orchestration is secondary to the voice. not as in Verdi when there are times when the voice is competing with the orchestra. Like in the Quella Pira, the choir is singing loud, the orchestra is full sound, and there is a tenor trying to reach a high C. There is nothing about that. There is this very light orchestration, very few instruments. Uh, Mezzo forte maybe, occasionally forte, but most of the times between pianissimi and mezzo forte, so that the voice like it's like for me something like an enchantment. You listen to a voice coming from somewhere, singing these very nice notes, and it is like from my perspective like willing to be carried away by the music, exploring like very intimate emotions instead of shouting out loud like Carmen, like if you are going to kill me, do it now. You will never see something that intense in these early stages of opera. But now let's jump to
Enorme!
yeah. This time we are jumping to, or we are going back to again one of the most famous characters of the Greek mythology, the lover who descends to hell to rescue his beloved one, which at the end didn't work for her because she messed up horribly. And really, she messed up.
That's
But
not love. Nothing will be.
but the intention of Orfeo is very nice, and there are many compositions around Orfeo. But the most famous one is the one that we are about to share, because now he's going to be weeping, crying, asking himself, "What am I going to do without my beloved Eurydice?" So, che farò senza Euridice? Dove andrò? Che farò? And the lyrics or the words are really not more than three or four, but the way he takes it goes back to che farò senza Euridice. That very light emotion that has been
You
sung
can
for.
sing it.
I could if I had the score by at hand, but I don't recall
I
it.
will
But
send it to you.
I don't know it by heart, so that's why I cannot sing it. But when I am in a given mood, I like to sing it because I think, and maybe if I can share it with you for a second, I think that one of the most horrible errors that singers and mostly tenors commit is that, as I have shared with you in the past, tenors like to sing out everything loud. Everything has to be loud, everything has to do impressive, even the breathing when rapping has to do exaggerated. So for some reason tenors are not the most elegant singers, and I think that pieces like this, like Que faros en su Euridice, besides telling you how to breathe, how to have a nice impostation without overdoing anything, I think that many tenors would benefit from that. So they would learn that shouting is not always necessary, and that you can still do art while working on something as nice
Because
as these
here
pieces.
you're thinking in loud voice, but it's for you.
It is, it
So there
is.
has to be connection.
But the thing about tenors is that when even they have their intimate thoughts, they still shout out loud. Come La solita storia del pastore, because La solita storia del pastore, besides telling a story, it is pretty much a monologue, but it is not sung intimately. It is, and basically at the end, you are almost shouting that fatale io sempre di lei, mi fai tanto male, but man, go for the me forever, when it has to be much quieter, much nicer. Maybe not as much as Orfeo, but it gives you a very good hint of what you can do with a voice without overdoing things. But if you don't mind, you may have already perceived that I like this aria very much, and it certainly is. I really love it. So let's give this. Let's thank Katya now for sharing this very beautiful che farò senza Euridice? Because
Give me a sec.
yeah, sure. Also keep in mind that she's still recovering from the recent disease, so we have to be understanding for that.
Thank you. Che farò senza Euridice? Dove andrò senza il mio bene? Che farò? Dove andrò? Che farò senza il mio bene? Dove andrò senza il mio bene? Euridice, Euridice, oh Dio, rispondi, rispondi. Io son pur il tuo fedel, io son pur il tuo fedel. Che farò senza Euridice? Dove andrò senza il mio bene? Che farò? Dove andrò? Che farò senza il mio bene? Dove andrò senza il mio bene? Euridice, Euridice, a non m'avanza più soccorso, più speranza. Che farò senza Euridice? Dove andrò senza il mio bene? Che farò? Dove andrò? Che farò senza il mio bene? Dove andrò? Che farò? Dove andrò senza il mio bene? Dove andrò senza il mio bene?
And yeah, well, che farò senza il mio ben? So what I am going to do with that, without this love of mine, is how this famous, well, I think Orfeo and Euridice must be of the most famous unfortunate lovers of all history, not only of the ancient Greek myth, but mostly in the world of human creation. This is story of the woman you love, but you lose her somehow. You're willing to go to hell to rescue her. All you have is to meet your music to accompany, to be with you. And when you are about to triumph over the tragedy, everything she goes back to she dies forever, like it's like if destiny would be telling you no matter what you do you are condemned to be left by the love of your life. So that's the type of sadness that Orfeo has been sharing with us. And now I think that it is also time to also say that we have shared about the type of voices that sing it, that we no longer have those voices anymore, that the orchestration that it used to be static that it is a repertory that Hollywood likes a lot to be put in the background in given a good number of scenes. We have also mentioned that they are usually given to beginner students, which may call them a tremendous trauma when they realize that they need close to perfect voice in order to do some to sing it fairly well. But we also have to think about the lack, the very unfortunate lack of representations on nowadays for this repertory. You can maybe watch a recording from Grinderborn, maybe from the Salzburg Festival, or occasionally at the Royal Opera House. But most of the times, in the case of Mexico, I don't even remember when it was the last time that an opera from this early stage was on stage. I really don't even recall when
Uh,
it was the last time. But you have very often La Boheme, you have very often Traviata, you have more or less often Madama Butterfly, other titles that of course call many people. But I also think that if you want to be what people like to be called cultivated, if you want to be a cultivated a lover of opera, you really need to approach these all these compositions because you have to see them as this is how it all started. We would have never had a Turandot, Aida, a Chocho San, a Mimi, or anybody else, not even a Norma. We would have never even had a Norma if things hadn't started with people like
with Orfeo.
Handel or Gluck or Porpora or the many others. What are your thoughts about this lack of having this quality of material on stage?
I think it's a pity. It's a shame. There are incredibly beautiful works, and it's a waste. Last year, I was invited to sing Orfeo, and I think it was a great opportunity to approach to this repertoire to Baroque on stage because I've been singing things like Tornami. I've sung Cleopatra in the program. Even I've sung. Please help me. Hmm, what's the name? I sing it, but I forgot. uh, it's Cleopatra. Help me, please.
The name of
Yes. This aria.
give me a second.
Piangero,
Cancerola sorte mio.
piangero,
Cancerola sorte mio.
la sorte mia. Yes, and I'm starting to prepare the entire role of Cleopatra because it's plenty of beautiful arias. It's probably one of my favorite characters. And I think that there are lots of beautiful music in Baroque period. I don't know why people uh, doesn't want to sing and perform it.
Maybe because of the easiness of the applause. If we adhere to my example of the tenors, why would a tenor care for anything from the early stage of opera when you can barely find a piece? Or if you want to go for the Que farò senza Euridice, but that requires perfect pitch, good breathing technique, a nice intonation. Why going for that effort when you can say "Que llevi la mania" and be sure that everybody's going to applaud? Like you most of the times you just go for the easy way. But I also recall that fortunately, if not very much represented on stage of the opera houses, there has been a good number of recordings of singers, and maybe at this point I would like to name Philippe Haruski, the
Oof.
French countertenor. You may or may not like his voice. You may or may not like what he has done with his assembly, but you have to what you have to accept is that he has digged into to many beautiful pieces of music that many people have not taken the time of studying and presenting them. Uh, there are a number of concerts of recordings that I have had the chance of watching because the atmosphere, tends to be like very quiet, very intimate. You listen to and when you're lucky enough, even the instruments that they are playing are have been recovered from those centuries. So you're actually listening to how a mandolin could sound back there, and many other instruments. And it is very interesting to try to get how it was 4 or 5 centuries ago when all that music was starting, and that you would have a singer, a virtuosistic singer, in front of you singing those beautiful notes. I
Yes.
think that's very fortunate that there are many recordings of that. I also, the thing is that I don't recall his name in full, but I found yesterday, 2 days prior to today, that there is also another countertenor. I'm not sure what his nationality is, only I'm sure that he's from Europe. And it is very cool because he happened, it is Jacob something, and he not only is a countertenor, but he also is a breakdance dancer. So he does all those body movements on this while dancing. Of course, not in the same program. So he has the two careers. And I also found that he's
Okay.
a very famous TikToker, and he's very young. And I saw a recording of him. I forgot the area. Uh, that the interesting part of it is that that in these recitals, in these concerts, the singer is usually very well dressed and all that. Well, he's singing in shorts with like if he was at the beach, and the pianist is as
Okay.
well. So I think it was very hot there, so they were very comfortable. And he said that he did it because we have been so stiff, so strict in the opera, that the opera is not attracting any more people, and that he wanted to show that it really doesn't depend on what you're dressing to do a good performance. And his performance was very good, by the way. So I think I'm going to look for more information because I like the project he's having. Somehow our project is somehow close to that. We don't want to be that stiff. We want to be more relaxed, more human, more closer to people who are watching, actually sharing our own thoughts around the opera instead of, you know, like being very serious. And now let me introduce Maestra Katia Arellano, who will be performing an area from the
Exactly.
early
That's
period.
what we are trying in this program.
Yeah, yeah. So I will look for. I hope he shared in that interview that he found that there are many other singers doing similar projects around the world. So hopefully, I will have the chance of sharing with you another of those projects soon. But for now, I just noticed that I changed the order because the next piece is. I think that Kefaros and Seuridice was going to be the last, but
Oh God,
Ombra Mai Fu is going to be the final piece for today.
yes,
Another
I
master, master, masterpiece, usually sung also by countertenors, mezzos, or contraltos, but it was written by Handel. Without Handel, we would have not what we have now in the opera. And Ombra Mai Fu is also, I don't know. It has been recorded for, it has been part of 1,000 movies already. Everybody wants to have that in the background, playing in a number of scenes. And we are going to wrap up today's program with that very beautiful aria. Would you like to share some final thoughts before we jump to the final piece of today's program?
yes. I think that we have to give a chance to Baroque music. You were speaking about how intimate it might be, and I think that it has to do with the first performances. Let's remember that Baroque period and this first operas were written for specific courts. So it was performed not in a theater, but in a house. Okay, it was a palace or a castle, but it's still a house. It was for the court, not to the public. So the orchestration, it's very intimate, and the vocal work, it's also intimate because even when it was a big space, it was not like a theater uh, designed for, I don't know, 600 persons.
Yeah, that is also very important.
So that's why it is very warm music, and it's delightful.
Yes, it certainly is. Well, with those words, I would like to thank people who have been following us in the post recording or the post transmission in YouTube. And of course, then again, thank people in the podcast who have been very loyal to our program. And now that Katia has almost recovered, we are more ready to continue with our cycle. And well, thanks everybody. And let's share or let's listen to Katia's rendition of this very beautiful Ombra Mai Fu by Handel.
Let's go ahead.